How much would you pay for this website? One of these is worth $10,000, the other just 59. Do you know which one? And can you tell me why? Now, if you said it's the copy, you're already ahead. You're right, but you're also wrong. Good copy isn't decoration, it's persuasion. So let me show you what I mean by that. The website on the left is $59 because of the copy. The website on the right is $10,000. But why? Is the copy alone worth over $9,000? Here is a twist. Take a look at this comparison. Now we have two websites with the exact same visual and copy, yet still one is worth 10,000 and the other just 4. Same copy, same visual, same layout. What's the difference? Some say that being confident will allow you to charge more for your work, but that's not entirely true here. So let's talk about what that extra $6,000 actually gets you. And with this video you will be able to charge more as a designer and as a client understand if you're not being scammed when somebody charges you $10,000 for something that's worth $59. And then they go brag about it on social media, obviously. $59 is a pretty template with some filler text. No thought, no reason, no logic, just some pretty pixels. With 4,000 you get a pretty visual, but there is also copy written with intention. It shows real benefits and real outcomes. Let's start by annotating and understanding the $59 template. The first thing you focus on is the face because the person is looking directly at you. Then our gaze shifts to the left and we start reading the copy. If we were to simulate some eye tracking here, we first focus on the eyes of the girl. Then our gaze shifts to the next bright point, in this case this icon over here, and then it goes further down to the next point, which is this icon over here, and then at the end it ends up at the CTA, which isn't necessarily bad, but it's a bit too many steps to get to the CTA. So yes, our attention goes to the face, which is slightly against the gaze principle, but sometimes it can work with a good photo. Wide eyes signify some potential danger or something important, so we naturally notice that and look at them. The slightly parted lips give a little bit of that primal tension, which can mean recovering after a workout, but we also naturally notice things like that. Those little details connect with us on our emotional human side. A good kicker is all about explaining the why, but is this one even good? Then we should define a problem and talk about what is it solving. Under that, we should explain how we are solving that problem and convince the user to take some action. Remember I just posted the $59 design to Twitter and asked if I cooked? Well, let's check on that post again, let's see how it's doing. Now, if that isn't concerning, I don't know what is. Now let's talk about the copy specifically, what's wrong with it, and then I'll tell you a secret on why this template is worth just 59. We have some claims about user numbers in the kicker, but they are impossible to verify, and yeah, they're pretty far-fetched, aren't they? The headline is completely meaningless, I mean, just look at it, it's just garbage. And then we have a description that also doesn't really explain anything. But hey, at least the button copy is fine. I think they made it by accident. And then, because of the gaze principle, we actually look away from the CTA and into the eyes of the girl first. But you need to understand that a $59 or $1,000 project won't have all that. They won't have those annotations because they have no idea what they did and why. So a process for a $59 template designer is that they just make some visuals, usually AI generated, then they add some rather random text, they expect the client to possibly fill that gap, and they send the Figma file. There is no logic, no reasoning, no thought behind it, no thought process explained, nothing, just an image. So if you're a client and you're getting just an image or just a Figma file at the end, it's definitely not worth thousands of dollars. More like hundreds if it looks good. Now, this better version of this website can be anywhere from 1,000 to 4,000, and it's gonna be closer to the 4,000 if the designer is aware what they did with the copy here and why is it like that. Because if they just send a Figma file like that, yes, it's worth a little bit more than 59 now, but still not in thousands. unless you annotate it and explain why you did what you did with the design. And there is one thing on this design that most designers miss even if they do it right. I'm gonna explain it to you in a minute once we get to the 10,000 design. But with $10,000 and more, you're paying for things that you don't necessarily see. Strategy, content hierarchy, planning, research, guidance, post-launch strategy, and more. When working for a client, you shouldn't really be selling pixels. That's a dead end, those prices are gonna be dropping, and yeah, that just doesn't work. Instead, you should be selling a plan to maximize their business in any possible way, whether it's just for reach or for financial gain. And you can't really do that without long-term strategy. So what I believe good designers should be doing is selling the strategy, selling the planning, selling the post-launch ideas, the testing, the research, and then adding that design as a cherry on top. And the 10,000 design can also explain what these arrows are for. And even though it's the exact same visual with the 4,000 and the 10,000, there is a lot more going on behind the scenes. They also both have totally different performance over time. And a lot of design is like that. The value of design is currently dropping. So the actual pretty pixels part of it is going to be cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And yeah, I know, obviously, most people use the web on mobile nowadays. So let's look at the 4,000 and the 10,000 website and how they would look on a mobile device, explained. Let's start with the 4,000. As you can probably see, this is a very simple moving of the two main sections, one under the other. The main navigation gets replaced by a hamburger menu on the top left, and most of the content gets centered from the previous left align. The button is proportionally bigger so it's easier to tap, and there are no more underlined links here. Now let's see the 10K version. What's the difference? Some say that on mobile you shouldn't give people an option to go out of the site, but in case of verifying things, yes, you should. So we have an arrow to go straight to the App Store and to see the ratings and reviews of the app. We don't want small text links in the text, but we can make a section where for people that want to read more about it before they sign up, they can expand it and they can go to the DNA or HRV links from there. The glow from under the button was removed, so it's clearer and a little bit easier to process on a smaller screen. And here we use the same photo but following the gaze principle, so the person is looking towards the button and we naturally follow the gaze and focus on the button as well. And above the fold we still show one low friction action with which you can just start a test workout right here and right now without signing up or doing anything. So the one on the left does the main things right, but it does them in the way that everybody does them. There aren't really a lot of extra thoughts put into it, and on the one on the right we have a lot more going on, but at the same time this is all thought out and explained, and it shows the ways to modify, test and refine it in the future. If we were to compare this approach to something, it would be two cars that on the surface look exactly the same. But one is well maintained. Somebody put a lot of effort and energy to have the engine running smoothly and all the little parts working together in perfect harmony. And the other one is just washed. They both look the same if you take a photo, but one can win a race and the other one will break down in traffic and annoy a lot of people. And it's exactly the same with websites. You're paying for what's under the hood. So when a designer says a website is 5K or 10K, ask them what's included, and if they say just the image, then it's not worth it. Because just the website with the proper copy, yes, that's gonna give you some benefit as a client, but there is no long-term strategy in it. Generally, that price will keep decreasing. So if you're a client, ask what's included. Because that way, you can actually bring the price down. If they have no strategy, no critical thinking about the future outcomes, and they just want to sell you a pretty template, likely with some AI-generated background image, then yeah, it's not really worth even the 4K. And if you're making websites, stop selling a visual, start selling outcomes. But I want to know, how much would you quote for this website? Let's assume the 4K one. Would you quote 4K, 5K, maybe 1K or 299? Because the price is not just in the pixels or in the copy. And you can find the truly good designers by seeing how they explain why they made the design decisions that they made. You can learn the basics of web design from my best-selling web design courses, and you can learn annotation, strategy, and all that other stuff from probably the best course I ever did. Link in the description. And if you want to see how I work for clients and how my studio is actually solving problems, go to squareblock.com right now. So yeah, that's it for this week. Let me know in the comments how much you would quote for this website, and obviously, have a beautiful day.